Hello, what is poppin' YouTube fam? This is your boy J Money here. I am back with the part 2 for the Brilliant Fusion and all that other greatness being played, you know, with the continuation of like Clockwork Knight and things like that. We're going to forego the Allure Queen stuff this time, and we're actually going to focus on more of a heavy fairy based build. So TCG exclusives, these two cards are the star of the show. These two cards are what is going to essentially have these entire builds kind of revolve around these cards. Not really revolve around them, but these cards promote some very, very insane power plays. So I'll go ahead and explain some of this stuff, right? First being the obvious, being the monster. Hymnir the Divine Follower. Now this card is very unique, and it's one of the only cards that actually lets you search for any continuous spell in the game, right? So even post side, you can side things like deck lockdown and kind of shut your opponent out that way and things like that. You can do that with this card. However, what you need to do is you need to tribute 3 fairies from hand and or field to be able to do it. And I know it sounds like a big hefty cost, but when you look at how you're going to consistently access this card, it's actually a lot easier than you think it is, right? So the other effect of this card is if it's sent to grave by a card effect, you can summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So obviously the easiest way you can send this card to your graveyard is off of Diviner. Diviner the Herald is quite literally the... I mean, there's other ways that you could send it, right? If you already... Let's say if you already started with Bengal's Blessing, you can do it. However, Diviner is the most reliable way to do so. So if you summon Diviner and you send this, you summon her out, you already have 2 fairies. And this is why you would probably focus more on a actual fairy-centric kind of build to be able to consistently resolve her effect, because if you resolve her effect, you almost win the game from there, because there are a lot of very strong continuous spells in this game. One of them being the new TCG exclusive Bengal's Blessing. So what this allows you to do is on activation you can foolish any light fairy from your deck to the graveyard. So it can be a starter, it can be Diviner, it can be something like Lead the World Child Spirit, it could be Venus if you still wanted to play Venus. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but you still can. But you can also send Arc Lord Christia to the graveyard and set up your lock and all that. And yeah, and when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target a level 4 or lower light fairy in your graveyard and summon it. So when it's sent, you can't necessarily summon the Christia itself. You can summon anything else though. So essentially you have a lot of options here. So first of all, let me go ahead and go over some of the key cards that surround just these 2 cards, right? So for starters, I'm going to go over like the fairy cards themselves that you want to kind of almost supplement this with and make these 2 in specific a lot more consistent. So for starters, we're going to start with Cyber Angel Ben 10, right? Ben 10 is amazing for a few reasons. One, her effect will trigger if she's tributed from anywhere, just like she did when you were playing Ben 10 in Drytrons. So being able to tribute Ben 10s out of your hand, you get free fairy searches, i.e. you can search things like Herald of Orange Light and stop things like Droll Lockbird if your opponent were so to have them. You can stop Drolls with Orange Light, you can stop Fuas with Orange Lights. So one of the biggest things I love about fairy-based decks is, you know, the incentive that you have access to something like a Gamma in the form of Orange Light, which is so nice. So here's something else that a lot of people probably haven't thought about. The Herald of Perfections, right? You can consistently set up Herald very early. You can consistently set up Herald early when you combine it with things like pre-preparation of rights. Pre-preparation rights, being able to dig both of these out of the deck is really, really solid. It's really solid for that reason. And before you even commit to any plays, if you already have Benton in your hand, you contribute the Benton, summon the Perfection, right? For those of you who forgot about the actual ritual spell, if you successfully ritual summoned your Herald, this lets you banish it and target one of the cards used to ritual summon, i.e. the Benton, and add it back to your hand. So when you summon the Perfection, you're already going to have a negate in your hand live and ready to use. But more importantly, Benton also triggers off of the ritual summon of Dawn. So not only will Benton go back to your hand, but Benton will also allow you to add Diviner to your hand, allowing you to normal summon it, and sending the Divine Follower to the graveyard, summoning the Divine Follower, then tributing all three of these cards to set any continuous spell that you want, right? So we're going to go over a nice list of continuous spells that a lot should consider playing. One is the most obvious one, Brilliant Fusion. Again, because of the Hymnir and the Diviners and all that stuff, Brilliant Fusion is more consistent now than ever before. You don't necessarily have to worry about hard opening it, but if you do hard open it, then it's great. It's full combo. So yes, so Vingolf's Blessing is another continuous spell that you can set, provided you have something that can send it to the graveyard afterwards. So like, I'll get into that in just a little bit, but another continuous spell obviously that you can set is like Lordly Load to get you like Drill Beam to your hand. You can set Deception of the Sinful Spoils. You know, hint, hint, guess what? This card also tributes monsters from your hand. So if you have Diviners in your hand before you start your turn, you can tribute Diviner to add your Hallowed Azamina. Diviner can float immediately and start your plays that way. You can summon your Lee out of your deck. You can summon your level 1 Valkyrie and things like that. So I'll go ahead and actually start digging for those as well. But there's other cards that are definitely worth mentioning as well that I'm going to go ahead and get to right now. So we got our slew of continuous spells here. Yes, you got your Brilliant Fusion, you got your Vingolfs, you got your Lordly Load, right? And you have your Deception, right? So you have 4 continuous spells that you can possibly dig and get access to. And keep in mind, they're all continuous spells, which means you can still play something like Clockwork Knight in your deck to be able to, after you've used your continuous spell, if it's already lived out its usefulness, you could just send it off to add the Clockwork Knight continuous spell to grab Regulus to your hand to further reinforce your setup. So these are all things that are definitely worth noting and worth mentioning, right? Deception can also tribute Bentons out of your hand to search you starters as well. So all of these things, like, these are all have like these like on like they have these micro synergies that actually further make up like they are big deals. They may seem small, but they're very big deals because they can be the big difference between you playing through interruptions and not playing through interruptions, full combo and not full combo, and things such as that nature, right? So now let's talk about these two cards, because typically these you kind of want to play these two cards because it's typically what you will summon with your Diviner about 8 times out of 10. The reason being is because it lets you foolish Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, right? And we can go back to playing the deck the old way, being Kyoto Waterfront, and you can add yourself another fairy monster to your hand, like Ruby Carbuncle. So this sounds bad, which, I mean, on paper it kind of is, right? But when you really think about it, when you tributing Diviners, right? If you tribute Diviner, like from hand or something, like let's say with Deception, right? And you summon this, you Foolish, Rainbow Bridge, you banish it, and you add these two, right? You've accomplished a few things. One, you automatically now have 3 fairies fodders, 3 fairy bodies that you contribute to set another continuous spell, you know, with the new TCG exclusive, or you've also put a fairy in your hand as well, like just a free discard fodder for Orange Light as well. Orange Light, ooh man, I'm telling you, that Orange Light cannot be underestimated, like at all. And with a lot of these combos, you can send Evas multiple times. You can send one on your opponent's turn and one on your turn as well. You can play 1 Eva in your deck. You can play 3 Eva in your deck as well. See, here's something else that that may kind of be understated, right? So let's say, for all intents and purposes, you have an Eva in your hand, for example, right? Let's say you have an Eva in your hand, and you went and sat there and you summoned Diviner and you sent this guy. I mean, you summoned her out, right? And all that. Now you got 3 fairies. You contribute these, right? To set your continuous spell. Not only can you now chain block your Diviner from things like Ash to where your starter is now protected, but you can also Eva your way into adding Orange Light to your hand in case your opponent does have Droll, so you have ways to kind of insulate yourself from Droll as you're searching as well. Like, again, being able to add Orange Light, it cannot be understated. Also, 3 Evas. This is if you want to combo it with Herald of Orange Light in general, right? So if you want to play 3 Orange Light, 3 Eva, and you just want to maximize the odds of opening both as a turn 0 play, you can do that, you know. This is something that I definitely thought about doing. It's just 3 Eva, 3 Orange. Orange negate like a really key component of my opponent's thing plays, and then just add a starter. You add Diviner and you can kind of start your plays from there and whatnot. So yeah, man, like all of these are really synergistic, right? Fairy bodies lead to good things. All paths lead to Rome, as we say. So what about Vingolf's Blessing, right? How can we send this? What are some consistent ways that we can send this card? Well, number one, you have Clockwork Knight, but Clockwork Knight is one of those cards where if you're getting into it, you're already playing the game. So what if you want to try and get started, for example, right? Well, we got some options. Well, remember that Deception and all that? You know, Deception still gets you access to Black Witch. Black Witch can send the Vingolf. So if I don't have a starter, right, Vingolfs can Foolish my Diviner, for example, and I can just send it with Diviner and set my Deception or whatever that, you know, whatever else, and then summon the Diviner and summon my Hymnir and all that other greatness right then and there, and bada bing, bada boom, we got ourselves full combo, just like that. We can play Magician's Souls and Illusion of Chaos as well, which I also play because I do still play the Primite package. I do play 3 Primite Roars and 3 Primite Lordly Loads, so if I Foolish anything I need, I could Primite for Beckon, level 4, summon Magician's Souls, send this, draw a card, get the extension that I need. Sometimes I'll just summon the Valkyrie. If I know I can send this, sometimes I'll just send the Valkyrie and just summon it straight away and just immediately get to my Gamma Seal. Or get to my Waterfront, get to my Gamma Seal, and all that, right? So with a build like this, you can actually play really low. You can play kind of low to the ground. You don't have to go balls to the wall with this deck, right? With this particular build, you can just kind of sit on a Herald of Perfection with fairies in hand and sit on like a Gamma Seal and probably be fine. You probably would just win the game just off of that alone, right? There's so many things that you can do with these sort of things here, right? Like you can end on Perfection plus Regulus and things like that. I mean, and then with the orange lights, guess what we're playing back in this deck? We're playing the original Firewall Dragon, specifically to bounce orange lights back to your hand, so you have more negates, essentially. So you can get it co-linked up pretty nicely and all that. You know, you got downward pointing arrows, you got things like Clockwork Knight or Lib with a left pointing arrow and all that. You got SPs and all that if you want to co-link it on the other side. You have a bow. You can Firewall bounce, right? You can bounce cards with Firewall, make a bow with it, and then bring back the Firewall, and then a bow can return here, and now you got more bounces ready for just you fueling your disruptions even more. And keep in mind, you got this, you probably have IP at the top as well, ready to make SP down here, followed by either you got Herald of Perfection just sitting on the field somewhere, or Gamma Seal. There's a lot of things you can do. You don't really have to play into Fua that much, right? If you're really worried about Fua, if you can just stick a Gamma Seal on the board and like an IP into an SP play, chances are you still win the game. Simply because anything that's sent from field to graveyard will automatically put counters on this card. It doesn't start a chain, so it just happens. So every time your opponent's doing stuff, or you're negating and destroying things with something like Orange Light, or if you're tributing your own Regulus that's equipped to something, that's 2 counters. If you link things off with IP, that's 2 counters and all that. So every time your opponent, you're negating cards with your Gamma Seal, you still don't really have to worry about being able to put more counters on a card like this, because you have your own methods of doing so as well. So this is a lot of talking and all that. Let me go ahead and just show you guys a brief combo of what I'm talking about. Alrighty folks, here we are in the laboratory. We are showcasing a couple of ways on just how to get started, and maybe a little bit on how to play under like things like Fua and stuff like that, like actually effectively, and kind of how you can kind of disrespect it a little bit. But anyway, we're starting with like pre-prep Ben 10. There's a lot of things you can kind of do here. Like you can even play regular preparation rights as well. And if you had like pre-prep and Ben 10 still, let's say you had Orange Light, right? Let's say you had Orange Light and you have prep, right? And you go prep and you proceed to add, you can check for things like Droll by adding Herald. And if they do have the Droll, you can Herald, discard your Perfection, and you can still resolve the pre-prep, because the monster can also be in the grave and you can still add it. The ritual spell just has to be in your deck. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start up with pre-prep. We're at Herald of Perfection, as well as its own ritual spell. Now keep in mind, with its own ritual spell, you have to match the exact levels, which is highly unfortunate. Because tributing, summoning like the Hymnir off of or sending the Hymnir off Diviner, then you won't be able to exceed the levels, and you won't be able to still get the multiple fairy bodies and all that stuff. But like, you can still kind of summon, like, you can play like Chaos Fairy, I guess, if you really wanted to, or the Chaos Witch, or whatever that, or Chaos Valkyrie, yeah, and turn the Diviner into level 6, right? You can tribute the Diviner and summon it, right? You can banish it, the Chaos Valk, later with Eva and then Foolish Christia and stuff like that if you want to. But anyway, let's go ahead and just show you guys how to at least start up, right? So we're gonna go and do the ritual summon. We'll go Ben 10 Chainlink 1 to add a fairy that's light to your hand, and then Chainlink 2 will banish Dawn of the Herald to add the monster that we just tributed for the summon back to the hand. So now we already have a negate up before we commit to any like actual plays. So that's a little bit of security for you. So we'll normal summon Diviner, and we'll send that TCG exclusive Hymnir, the Divine Follower. The Divine Follower is going to go ahead and activate and special summon from the graveyard, right? We have 3 fairies now, other than the Perfection. So guess what? Easily triggerable. Let's go ahead. She's banished when she leaves the field as well. That actually matters, because if Eva was in your hand instead of Benton, you wouldn't be able to banish 2 to get a double search. You would only be able to banish 1. So let's go ahead and tribute these 3. So 8 times out of 10, I'm setting Brilliant Fusion. The 9th time out of 10, I'm setting Bengal's Blessing, and then the 10th time out of 10, I am setting Deception. Right? It really just depends if you have like any more fairies in your hand that you could tribute, like Benton, that you could just kind of trigger, and all. If I want to play Deception or not, Bengal's and all that. If I already have Royal Chalice combo already as is, so like that's a lot of things that you can kind of do there. So anyway, we're gonna set the Brilliant Fusion instead. So let's just assume that our opponent dropped Fua on us. So now we're under Fua, so things are gonna be a little bit tougher on us. So we'll go Diviner and Benton. By the way, Benton is gonna go ahead and add us Eva to our hand. Yeah, and then we're gonna go and special both of the Valkyries. You need to summon the level 1 first, so I'm gonna show you guys why you can still kind of disrespect Niv, especially if you have Herald of Perfection on field with things like Eva and things like that. You're gonna have like all kinds of negates for hand traps, so you can kind of just play to your heart's content. So you'll summon these 2, and you'll activate the effect of the Valkyrie, and you'll send Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. Right now, you would think like this is like, I mean, it's not the best draw for sure, but you can still send it, right? We play Deception, we play Black Witch, we play Wanted, we play other things that allow us to just kind of get it out of our hand. We play Magician's Souls, we play Illusion of Chaos, like it's nothing. So we can go ahead and banish it and add Ruby Carbuncle. Ruby Carbuncle serves a decent amount of purposes. One, it's a fairy monster, so you can discard it with either Perfection or Orange Light if you don't have the Perfection set up, right? You typically just want to use Perfection to just insulate your plays. We're gonna put Perfection way in the corner over here. Actually, we're gonna need this space, so we're gonna go and activate Waterfront. So we gave our opponent 2 draws. Now we're gonna go and link 2. We're gonna make Cross Sheep. We're gonna give our opponent a 3rd draw. So things aren't looking too good for us, but you know, we got 4 negates here because Evoke will just give us 2 fairies and all that. So like, who cares, right? Next we are going to flip Brilliant Fusion and some Seraphinite. We're gonna send. Since we are, let's say we're under Fua, we can play Low to the Ground. We can go and send Christia to our graveyard. We send these 2, and we can summon Seraphinite. Now, what's really cool about this particular setup and these particular monsters, here's something else that Ruby Carbuncle is, that she has going for it. It's a level 3. And to make the Ib Synchro, you need a level, especially with this, you need a level 2 tuner. Guess what's the level 2 tuner? Diviner. And Cross Sheep is here, Seraphinite just hit the board. So, yeah. Boom. So there we go. We summoned that Diviner out, and we can go ahead and use our extra normal summon now on Ruby Carbuncle. Now we can go ahead and Synchro and make our Ib Synchro. Now we have 4 counters on Waterfront, which is what you want. You want at least 4, because if your opponent does have Ghost Ogre, you need to be able to, neutralize that shit. So, yeah, now Waterfront has been, has 4 counter. Oh, first off, we're going to go and add Succession off of the Ib Synchro. We can do that, or we can add World Legacy if we want to. It doesn't really matter. I do want to summon World Legacy from the deck with Ib, though, for very legitimate reasons. So we're going to go and use Waterfront and add. Now, we gave our opponent 5 cards so far. We gave our opponent 5 cards. We do need... It is preferable to have more fairies in hand, but it's fine, right? So we are going to link 2 into a Fiend Body, because we are going to attempt an bow on the Arclord Christia. That is very important because this will invalidate half of our opponent's hand. That way, the only things we need to stop are spell cards and spell cards that directly threaten, like Christia, which is not very many. You got like what, Imperm and all that. Like Ultimate Slayer doesn't even touch Christia or Herald like at all because they're not extra deck monsters as well. So like there's a lot you don't have to worry about. But if Synchro is gonna go and activate and spell summon a World Chalice from deck or grave, we are going to summon the World Legacy World Chalice. Specifically, one, we already use our normal summon, so yeah, there's that. Let's go ahead and link off into Clockwork Knight. Clockwork Knight effect activates, and that is going to send the Brilliant Fusion that we just used to go ahead and add the Clockwork Knight continuous spell. So we have another negate that we can access in the form of Therion King Regulus. So let's go ahead and choose to link these two off into an Abow. Now we can go and Abow effect, and we can go ahead and discard the Clockwork Knight to banish herself to summon a light or dark monster from our graveyard. And what we choose to summon is not Christia, but we can summon something else instead. We can go ahead and summon out another monster because we could summon a Link 3. We don't have any Link 3s in our extra deck. Like, I do want to make a Link 4 like really badly, but my goal is to like make IP, like do like an IP lib combo, but that's not unless you actually normal summon this and resolved it. But again, we are playing low to the ground as well, so instead of just, yeah, so we need to discard this, but we're gonna go and summon out, what do we want to summon? Actually, we can't summon Christia. I guess we can go ahead and summon out this Valkyrie. Now we can go ahead and use Clockwork Knight and discard Gameciel, and we can add our Therion. Whew. Excuse me. Oh, anyway. Now we can go ahead and link these two, and we can make a Lib. Make a Lib Blade Master. And we can live and we can set secrets. So we can secrets back Gameciel if we need to. If we get, if at any point our opponent had so many negates where, or so many cards in hand where they can just kind of deal with this and the Evas and the stuff like that, we can also bring back the Gameciel World Legacy Secret and be fine. But before that, we're just going to go Regulus. We're going to summon. We'll summon you way over here. We'll click the Clockwork Knight. And from here, we will activate Succession to summon back the Gameciel. So, how many times do we allow our opponent to draw? We let our opponent draw. Let's see, the Valkyrie. 2 times, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8. We gave our opponent 9 cards. We gave him 9 cards because World Legacy World Chalice was also summoned from deck. So, we gave our opponent 9 cards, but does that guarantee that we win the game here? Like with the kind of negates we have? Does it? Does it? I don't know. Well, let's see. We have a few things going on here. For starters, Abow returns. So, our opponent discarded Fua, drew 9, and he was supposed to start with 5 minus 1. Yeah, that's 13 cards. Yeah, you got 13 cards. Now, what's gonna happen is he's gonna draw for turn, and on that draw for turn, you can either a bow and bring back the Christia, or you can choose to World Legacy Secrets back the Christia. Either or you can kind of save it in case your opponent does have some weird stuff like Dark Ruler, Droplet, and stuff like that, and just play off your negates first. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff there, but Christia automatically will invalidate half the hand, just off rip. Half the hand is just invalidated. That leaves only spells and traps that can directly threaten these two cards right here. Now keep in mind, you have 3 other cards in your hand. Perfection can discard for a negate. Eva can activate after you do the negate. And you can go ahead and add double orange light. Not to mention, you have Gamma Seal's waterfront negates, and every time a card is sent from field to grave, a counter can get placed on it for each card that got sent as well. So if you negate twice with Gamma Seal, now you can go and tribute with Regulus to put 2 more counters on the waterfront, plus the additional negate that Regulus itself gives as well. So Gamma Seal can put another negate up. You have 2 more spell-ish negates with the Perfection. And keep in mind, like, it doesn't matter if your opponent has 17, 18 cards in their hand. If half of them are monsters and the other half are spells, and half of those spells are just starters and all that, and the other half isn't really spells that break a board, there's only maybe a couple cards in their deck that are spells that can help break a board. They can't super poly these two. They could probably super poly the Herald, but that is also something that you can bring back with a bow. You could bow back the Herald of Perfection. You could Royal Legacy Secrets back the Herald of Perfection. There's options. So even if your opponent were to have outed the Herald of Perfection, you have ways to just reset it anyway and just set it back up, which is nuts. So yeah, like, your opponent still loses the game anyway because Christia will invalidate half the hand. So let's go and showcase another way to get started. Alright, so now we have Vingolf's Blessing, the other TCG exclusive, as well as Black Witch. Remember what I was saying about even if you don't have any fairies, you could still set up 3 fairies very easily? This is just another one of those ways to kind of showcase that. So we'll go ahead and activate Vingolf's Blessing. It could be Black Witch or Wanted. It doesn't matter which one. So Vingolf's Blessing is going to Foolish Diviner, right? Next, you're going to send the Vingolfs for Black Witch. He'll go like Black Witch 1, Vingolfs 2. Summon out the Diviners, set Deception. You know, we're loving it. You know, now Diviner is going to activate, and we're going to send the Divine Follower to the graveyard. You know, that nice TCG exclusive. So she triggers, and she's going to go and summon out. But you still need another fairy. So luckily, Deception tributes. Isn't that fun? So Deception, Tribute Diviner, and now we can go and search our Hallowed Azamina, which also triggers Diviner because she was tributed, and we can summon both of those Valkyries from our deck once again. And we go, there we go. Valk and Valk. Valk will Foolish the Trap card. The Rainbow Bridge, we can go and banish it to add Ruby Carbuncle, as well as the Waterfront. There's my Ruby. Waterfront, where are you at? There you are. Boom. So we got these two. Let's go ahead and just activate this right away. Now we can go ahead and use the Divine Follower, and we can leave a monster on field if we want to. We sure can. But what we are going to do is just tribute the cards on field because, you know, hand advantage is nice. And if you have Orange Light already in your hand, you need to be able to, you know, still activate it. So, we've already went through Vingal's Blessing, and we clearly have Deception, so the only other thing we can set is Brilliant Fusion. Now, since we tributed 2 cards from field, 1 did not go to grave yet, so we have 2 counters, but we can easily change that with the Hallowed Azamina, and we can send these 2 to the grave to go into our Arcilago. Now we have 4 counters. Arcilago is going to go ahead and activate and get us that wanted Sinful Spoils. And now we can go ahead and Waterfront for Gamma Seal. So, even if we were under Fuo, like, our opponent would likely have 3 draws at this point as well. So, it's just something to keep in mind. We're going to go and Cross Sheep. And also keep in mind, we haven't normal summoned, like, at all. So, if you want to tribute to normal Gamma Seal to insulate your plays, you definitely can. So that it could be one of the reasons why you would keep the monster on field instead of in hand, so you can go tribute normal and then just play for free. But, you know, we want to do card economy stuff, so put the Arcilago back. Now we'll activate Hallowed, and then we'll chain Wanted. Wanted will just add us another Black Witch. There we go. Send and make Arcee. Sylvia. Alright. Now, we can activate the Brilliant Fusion. And with that said, Brilliant Fusion, we can do it this way. Let's go ahead and, if we are under Fuo, we can still send Christia and all that. Summon the Seraphonite and all this stuff. We can still do these combos, right? We can do all the things we need to do, and we can make a bow as well. So we could summon the Seraphonite, summon back extra normal. Oh no, yeah, extra normal summon because Seraphonite. Make the Ib Synchro still. Make a bow, or make the Fiend Link 2, summon World Legacy, send the Brilliant Fusion to add the Clockwork Knight to your hand. You can choose to make a bow from there, or you can tribute. You can go and tribute both of these to normal summon the Gamma Seal, and you could, if at any point you can extend, you can revive the Link 2 with the World Legacy Succession that you just searched off of your Ib Synchro, right? So, and the Clockwork Knight is on the field as well, so you have a link pointer, right? You can go ahead and make your bow afterwards. You can make your bow that way. But before that, you can make Live. Then you can use Live and the Close Heaven into a bow and summon back your Christia as well. And after you've already set your World Legacy secrets. So even though your opponent would still draw a decent amount of cards, you still have like the setup. You still got the setup that you were looking for, which is like some sort form of like other Omni. And by the way, if you bow, like I'd probably like bow something else to just get the Clockwork Knight out of the hand. Right, get the Clockwork Knight out of the hand and then grab Regulus. You know, after the Clockwork Knight has been sent, right? So you can go Regulus, summon as well. You could also just bow and keep the Gamma Seal and not tribute to normal. You could just bow, discard the Clockwork Knight, and then you could Clockwork Knight, discard the Gamma Seal to add the Regulus, summon the Regulus. You still have the Clockwork Knight. You can Succession back the Gamma Seal, make Live, and then set secrets as well. You could also, if you're afraid of Super Poly, you could just not make Live and just bow back the Christia. So yeah, like you can, this deck can play pretty low to the ground if it really needs to. If it needs to, it can. Under Droll, you can still put up a decent amount of interactions. It really depends on what you try to set up, right? Because notice a lot of these combos, you can set up your Brilliant Fusion play very well without the need to search. So even if you're under Droll, you could still Diviner for the Hymnir, right? You could still Tribute 3, right? You could set the Brilliant Fusion from your deck. You can activate the Brilliant Fusion after making Cross Sheep, right? Cross Sheep summon back. You can make a Bell, summon the Christia still, even under Droll unlock. So playing under Droll is not the worst at all, provided you have access to Diviner. So anyway, guys, this was a lot. Hopefully this went ahead and shown some light on these TCG exclusives and as to why they are very good and why they synergize so well with the pre-existing cards we already have. So anyway, guys, this was a long video, but it was important anyway. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the comments. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. This is J Money, and I am signing out.